Howdy y'all, DJTJ here with RollToWound.com. In this tournament battle report, I'll take my Daughters of Khaine to Goldmine Games in Richmond, Texas. So, let's get ready to roll. All right, guys. It's been a good while since we've had a tournament battle report. I haven't had the opportunity over between the holidays, people being sick, and all the other things that have been going on to get the camera out and go film a full battle report. Um, so this one, I took my Daughters of Khaine down to Goldmine Games in Richmond, Texas. Awesome place. If you're in the Houston area or even visiting, um, I 100%, and I'll leave a link in the description to Goldmine Games. You have to go down and check out this place. It has one of the best inventories of not only Games Workshop that you will ever find. It's got tons of other game systems, board games, Star Wars, bolt action, like anything you're looking for. They basically got almost the full like inventory of it. Great table, great terrain. Great rooms, themed rooms to go to. So it's a pretty good drive from outside of Houston, but it is 100% worth the trip going. So like I said, I'll leave a link in the description for that. So coming in after our last GT in Austin, um, I played Soulblight. Now I'm getting ready for our next GT in February. It's February 20th in Dallas, part of the Masters series here in Texas. And I switched to my Order Army. So I was debating playing Stormcast for a while, and then I decided, you know what, I'm gonna try out Doc. And because I like a lot of what they bring to the table. They got strong shooting. They got some hard hitting units. They've got some chaff that can actually do something. You got Marathi. You've got a lot of things in the book that you can choose from. So I sort of was leaning in that direction. Played a bunch of test games with different lists, and I've kind of settled on what I'm liking so far with this. I'm I'll go over the list and tell you my thoughts and theories, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or correct. All right, so here we got our list. If I mispronounce any of these names, please correct me in the comments. I always call it the Malusai, Methuselah. I don't know how to pronounce it. Just the iron scale. But we're running Hagnar. So Hagnar, you got a couple benefits, and if you've watched the channel, Matt Robish came on this channel and had a full commentary on Doc, and I'll have a link in the description to his list. I'll have a blog post with some of his thoughts on it. I'll have the link in the description for my list and all my opponents' lists. So there'll be a blog post that has all this included. You can go check that out. Um, I'm a big fan of Hagnar and Keltnar. I personally like both of those, and I really wanted Keltnar to work, and I still think it can. I think I want to try this list in Keltnar next. But Hagnar brings some really strong things to the table, predominantly the the command trait Devoted Disciples, which is a 12-inch bubble of 5 up ward. It takes the base ward save that all daughters have of 6 and raises it to a 5 in that bubble. And at first I was like, that isn't that much of a benefit. You know, you got a bubble, it's only a 1 extra dice, but I promise you over the course of the tournament that I went to that I rolled so many 5s that it paid for itself time and time again. Almost every game that 5 up ward paid for itself. Um, the other thing that the Hagnar that really does help, that helps my list, because it does a lot of stuff for the avatar, which I don't run an avatar, but it allows that the blood rights table to be 1 turn ahead, and that's super helpful too. Especially you don't really notice it in turn 1, but as soon as you hit turn 2, you're getting turn 3 benefits, and it's super nice. So Hagnar, um, very, very nice temple. I think Keltnar, like I said, I'm gonna try that out also before I make my final decision on that. But that's really where I'm at on this list, is between Hagnar and Keltnar. The grand strategies hold the line. You've got 3 battle. I'm gonna have 3 battle line units in here. It's not the strongest grand strategy, but with what I'm working with, it's probably the best bet. And Triumph is inspired, of course. So our general is going to be the Iron Scale, Devoted Disciples, and the Artifact. Yeah, I'm not going to say that. The artifact gives +1 damage to the weapon, so that is not bad. So with Marathi, you're getting your 3 casts a turn, and sort of the way I'm looking at is a Black Horror is pretty much I'm casting every turn. Mind Razor, I'm pretty much casting every turn, and then that for that third spell, you've got a lot of choices on what you want to do. What's the state of the map, what you're trying to accomplish. Mystic Shield is never bad, and Steed of Shadows isn't bad if you need her specifically to move somewhere. Um, Mirror Dance is also super nice. You can teleport the Shadow Queen and the Iron Scale if you need to. Her, either one of those, whatever your situation is. And I actually used that a time or two in the tournament, and it worked out okay. Withering's out there, Shroud of Despair. So there is some utility in the spell lore, and it just really depends on matchup, mission, and what's going on. But Marathi is awesome. The Shadow Queen is there too, and I'm not going to go into super detail on how those two work. It's like you sort of, if you've played them once, you sort of see what they do and how that wound transferring works, and the timer that's really on them. Next, we'll go down to 10 Blood Sisters. And at first, I sort of didn't like Blood Sisters. I was like, no, that's a lot of investment for 10 models. But after playing with 20 Witch Elves in my test games, and I found that the Blood Sisters they hit much harder and they're more survivable. So and they work really well with the Iron Scale and being able to run 2d6 and charge. They work really well with the Shadow Queen and getting the extra attack. So the Blood Sisters in this list are sort of like a melee hammer. That's what I sort of use them for. They can run by themselves, so that they're better to run with the Shadow Queen to get that extra attack. 15 Bloodstalkers. I mean, you're not running a top end list unless you're taking 15 Bloodstalkers. They're the double shooting, mortal wound output, and they're decently survivable, and they're not horrible in close combat. And 20 Witch Elves, a pair of Sacrificial Knives. This is one thing I would change on the list, and I probably won't have time to paint it, but I would run them with bucklers instead, because basically all I'm using these Witch Elves for is a screen to screen out my Bloodstalkers. That's all they're there for. I mean, of course, they could go up and take an objective. They actually have 3 attacks each. They're not horrible, and especially if you put Mind Razor on them. I mean, they're a really good combat unit. Just with a 6-up save and a 6-up ward, they tend to die rather quick. So they're really just there to screen out sort of the command center, which is them in front, the Bloodstalkers, and then right behind them is you got Marathi and the Iron Scale sort of holding down that bubble. While the Blood Sisters, the Shadow Queen, and the Ishland Guard go do whatever I need them to do. Now, the Ishland Guard was originally put in this list because they pair really well with the Shadow Queen. They have the same movement. On the charge, they are a 3-up unrendable save. It could be a 2-up if you all out defense. I mean, they're 4 wounds each. They do okay attacks, nothing crazy, but they're there to soak up Overwatch. They're there to screen out a flank for the Shadow Queen. They're there to do whatever, and that was the original intent. But I found throughout the tournament that I was sort of leaving them independent to do their own thing a lot of times, because they sort of can. They're fast moving. They're pretty survivable, and for 155 points, it's not bad. There's other options you could put in this place, but I think for 155 points, hopefully they don't get FAQ'd before the tournament and I can't bring them, or they get FAQ'd and they're not as good as they are now. But if you're seeing these guys, don't underestimate them in a dock list. They serve a very good purpose as a sort of like I want to call them a hamel anvil, an anvil hammer, because if they get the charge and you can't really do any damage to them and they can lock you in. You are taking a battle regiment for 1 drop. So that's kind of the composition. It's not a ton of wounds. So we only got 106 wounds. There's some hidden wounds in there with Marathi and sort of the way the Shadow Queen and her work, but you're still light on wounds. You're light on other than sort of the Ishland Guard. You're light on armor saves. And you're not really super heavy on magic. Morathi only has 2 dispels. It is at a +1. So it's really, you're doing all your damage sort of with the Blood Stalkers, the Blood Sisters, and the Shadow Queen. That's where the most of your damage output's coming out. And if you can get good double turns with this, you can knock out a quarter to a third of people's army easy in a turn. All right, so I'm going to give you a little overview of what the army looks like so far in its paint state, and then we're going to jump right into game 1. All right, so this is where I'm at painting wise so far. I've actually painted quite a deal more than this, but I've sort of switched the list up over the last month or so. Got about 25 days to get everything done. Should be plenty of time to get this. The display board is the only thing that I'm still working on for the tournament in February, but they're coming along fine. Going with a little desert theme, and so here we go. Alright, we're here at game 1. We're doing the Vice. I have my daughter set up like this, playing against KO. So we got 2 boats. Gortrek playing against Mr. Nate. And who's going to get the first turn? You deploy. You won the roll off. We're both 1 drops. So
I'll go ahead and go first.
Alright, he's going to go first. We're going to go into turn 1. See what happens. All right, so wrapping up KO turn 1, he basically took Savage Spearhead to bring the units in. He flew high with all his units, and they dropped down 9 inches away. And the shooting phase was a little under average for him. Ended up killing 5 snakes and 6 sisters. He charged in with the frigate, and we ended up mostly taking off most of the damage with the snakes. The close combat snakes, and killed the frigate. Guys hopped out, so we did some battle shock. I lost a couple more, and this is where he ended up with 5 points for the rounds, and then we're going into DOK turn 1. All right, so finishing up my turn 1, cast some spells. I got Mind Razor off on the Methuselah, you know, the combat snakes. Got a couple spells off, and basically cleared his line a little bit. Moved up with the eels. Morathi moved up to make a charge. We took kill a battle line, broken ranks, and that battle line actually got killed by the bow snakes, so I didn't get an extra point for Morathi. Moved up, the snakes charged them in, and between their attacks and crystal touch, they ended up taking out the ironclad. Killed a couple more little units. The Witch Elves soaked up the Overwatch. They're still alive. I used a CP to save them from Dilling. He ended up killing in close combat 6 witches and 2 of the snakes. And I only made 3 points for the turn. We are going into a priority roll-off for turn 2. And he gets it automatically. I rolled 1. All right, going into, I guess you're taking it, right?
I will, yes.
All right.
So I'd like another turn. It'll be fun.
All right, KO had their turn, and as we all thought, Gortrek made it into combat. Luckily, he rolled kind of poor, and then he killed enough that I got out of the 3-inch bubbles and sort of piled out away from him. So I still have 1 snake left. I kept spent a CP to keep her alive. He ended up killing this, not counting the eels. And going into my turn, he ended up scoring a total of 4 points for the turn, and we're going into Doc turn 2.
All right, finished up my turn. Cast a bunch of spells, basically took everything out except Gortrek. He's got 4 wounds left, and then your Engine Seer?
He's Etheric Navigator.
Etheric Navigator is fully health. Marathi just went in. We basically just put all our attacks from the bows into Gortrek to start whittling him. I took Slay the Warlord. I did it with Marathi. Therefore, I scored 3 for that, and then I scored 3 for holding 3 objectives. The Eels ran over here and got this point. So we're tied at 9, and we're going into a roll-off for turn 3.
5 and 5.
And you went first, so you get picked.
Okay. Oh, so I will go. I'll take
All right,
my
he's
turn.
taking the turn. All right, so turn was really quick. He didn't make a battle attack, didn't get anything else. I put 2 wounds on Gortrek and none on the Navigator with Marathi. Marathi took her 6 wounds. Now she's down. Probably wrapping it up for time after this, but we'll see where we're at. And then march on. So we kind of played through my turn 3 real quick. Made the battle tactic because in the hero phase I was actually able to shoot Gortrek off when we sort of talked that this turn we get wrapped up. I'd kill his Alchemist Navigator? His Navigator. I take this point, which I would have done with the Eels, so from now it'll just be sort of wrapping up the rest of the turn, the game. And there we go.
All right, so there you had my game 1. Couldn't ask for more on my end. I got the table. I got a table wipe. I got not max points because I did miss out on a few points early, just because that was sort of the way I was playing. I sort of set myself up for that, for hopefully to be in a better position later in the game, which I was. Nate it's funny, I don't get to play him very much, but I've been playing in the Houston area for 15 years or so, and he's one of the first guys I remember playing way back in the day. He used to play 40K a lot, like 15 years ago against Nate. So it was fun to play him. Didn't really get close in on his army. It's very, very beautifully painted, and really it came down, and that's what we talked about after turn 1. It was just bad. I don't want to call it bad rolling, good rolling. It was just sort of like I rolled high on all my ward and armor saves, and he rolled kind of low on all his shooting. So after his sort of first turn, just coming in and trying to strike, trying to hit, he didn't really do that much damage, and I was able to return fire in my turn and really take him out. Another thing that sort of hampered him too is that he decided he was going to charge in with all of his forces, and he got like 1 out of 4 or 5 charges off for 9 inches, and it just sort of didn't work out for him. Nate actually, I think, won his second 2 games and ended up placing 3rd in the tournament. So the list it's a strong, if you play KO, and I haven't played KO in a while, and it's a scary shooting army. I don't know if the Vice helped me or hurt me a little bit. I do have enough speed, and I do have some teleports that I could catch up. Got sort of lucky with turn rolls priorities, and got lucky with Gortrek. I was able to shoot and sort of hit him and take him out. There was a couple of mistakes I made. I think I would have screened and shielded a little different next time. Really push my witch elves up and have the rest of my army back, because I think I have enough movement, especially in the early game, with pretty much everything in my army moves. It's pretty decently fast. So I think next time I would screen a little bit better. But hey, I will take it. Another word on this tournament, the points are cumulative. We're playing the Dallas GT pack basically, and the way the scoring works is it goes wins and losses first, but then after that it goes cumulative points scored. So getting all those extra little battle tactics and stuff like that is very important. And luckily, like I said, we wrapped the game up after pretty much shot off Gortrek during my turn. And then it was like, okay, I had like a turn or two to just sort of what battle tactics could I do to maximize points like that. But all in all, great game. Nate's a fun opponent to play, and I'm glad that he sort of converted over to Age of Sigmar a little bit more, and so we get to see him at the tournaments. Now we're going into game number 2.
Okay, we're in round 2. We are playing Tectonic Interference against Cities of Sigmar, and we got Mr. Ratley again. We tend to play round 2 at Goldmine a lot. His list will be on in the description. So he's got a lot of proxies. I don't want to call them proxies, but they're
one conversion.
It's one conversion. That's right. So we'll have the list in there. It's a hard list to get through. It's like a brick with a ton of mortal wounds. So we'll see what happens. I debated going first, trying to rush up, get on points, but I think I'm gonna let him go take the first turn.
Okay.
All right, so I'll let him go first. He has, how many total spells you got? Like
8. Well, I have no 13, but I've got 8.
Yeah, pretty much 8 spells. The big damage dealers was the Maelstrom came out and did some wounds, and the one spell. What's the spell's name that you shot through the portal?
Elemental Cyclone.
Elemental Cyclone, that did some work too. So down about 4 bow snakes and a couple of everything else. Marathi got 2 wounds on her. The Eels took a couple of wounds, and he took 2 wounds back from the Maelstrom. He ended up taking a total of 6 points for the turn, going into Daughter's turn 1. Alright, my turn wasn't horrible. It could have been a little bit better, but I'll take what I can get. Basically, I took Monstrous Takeover for this objective. Marathi moved up. There's 3 of those Phoenix Guard left alive. The Bow Snakes had an awesome turn of shooting and killed the
Celestial Hurricane.
The Hurricane on me up. I got Mind Razor off, Mystic Shield off. Mystic Shield, and they were roared. So they ended up killing 5. I took out his 2 little heroes that were there, and I killed a couple of those guys. Still didn't take the point because the Phoenix got to come into it. So now we're going to roll off to see who gets a turn. 3 to 2. I'm going to take it because I need to do it. Score right now going into turn 2 is 6 to 3. I won the priority, so I'm going to go do my turn. So my turn went okay. Not great. I noticed that my battle tactic was to destroy the battle line unit there. Got some spells off. Actually, I mirror danced out and I brought Marathi over here to try to charge. We got the Phoenix down to 8 wounds remaining.
No, 8 damage on him. You got 4 wounds remaining.
Oh, 4 wounds remaining, yeah. And I was really trying, I re-rolled the charge. I was really trying to get in there and kill that Phoenix because that would have been, put me way ahead. I only scored 2 for that. I did get my battle tactic for destroying that battle line unit, and I really didn't do too much else. So the score right now is like 6 to 7, and it's his turn. So he's coming into a pretty good turn, and I haven't killed enough of his wizards yet.
So I'm going to score it. I get 1, 2, and my tactic for 4.
Alright, so Jack finished up his turn. He was able to heal his Phoenix from a combination of the ability and the Emerald Swarm. He managed to get everybody back here, as you see. I do have 1 Witch Elf alive that I use the CP to keep there, just in case I win this priority roll. And it will come down to this because this is a big one. So this is where the table state is, and we're going into priority turn 3, right?
5.
Yep, and you got it.
I'm going to take it too.
Yeah, and it's probably going to be close to a table wipe. Well, it was just about as bad as I thought it was going to be. So losing the double turn hurt, and I got 1 snake left alive that rallied. We did put a few wounds on his Griffin right here, and then he took the points. The score is 15 to 7 right now, so that's sort of where we're at going into my turn 3, really. Oh yeah, look, we got the Phoenix Guard down to what, 2 models?
Yeah.
And now they're back. So between the Emerald Life Swarm and Rally, we got them back. So my turn was pretty simple. I failed all casting, and then my battle tactic was to conquer and take that point. I did kill the Phoenix Guard with Marathi. There is a bow snake left. She ran away in the trees. He, at the end of charge phase, stomped and killed my hero. And amazingly, I killed the Griffin. And for the how many times have you rolled 1s to bring that thing back?
5 in a row.
5 1s in a row to bring the Griffin back. So the score right now is 12 to 15, and we're going to priority. 3 to 3. Yep, and he's got it. All right, so we're rushing through the turn. He basically brought everybody over here. He took this point with his Phoenix with a run. and redeployed, but he still made a long charge. So he got in here and killed some of the guard. Marathi's still on the board, going into my turn to see what kind of points that we can make. Yeah, so we're basically just running through because we're almost out of time for the turn. And where it comes down to during my turn, I pick aggressive expansion and took those two, right? Aggressive is in their territory. Put my two in theirs, and then run the guard. So the plan is if I manage to roll a priority, I would possibly run all three of those together for another battle tactic.
So we didn't really go into what the final points were. I lost that game by a good bit. We were just sort of talking out the last round or so, and it depended on priority and different things. Got a couple battle tactics there at the end, and that list is. I'm telling you what. If you build a Cities of Sigmar army, the first thing you start with is 3 units of Phoenix Guard. Those guys are beefy. You could ask, well, why didn't I attack that center unit? Well, that was 20 Phoenix Guards, and he had about 3 different buffs on them. I would not have done any damage to them. They are super resilient, and he's got several different ways to heal them. And it's like, yeah, you sort of got to hit them and take them out, and I wasn't ready to commit for that yet. Couple of shifts, and it's always fun playing Mr. Ratley. He's a great opponent, and his list building is always. It's always fun to see what lists he can come up with. He seems to be able to dissect a book and come and pull really interesting combinations. Sometimes combinations that might be what other people are doing. Sometimes it's like I haven't seen anybody think about doing that, and he'll bring it to the table, and he loves to test new things. And this list was what he tested. He ended up winning the local tournament. So he won. This was the winner of the tournament. And somebody, he is a roller wooner, so somebody's got to be picking up the slack because it sure ain't me. And, he's actually won, I think, 3. He's going to correct me if I'm wrong. It's like 3 or 4 of the local tournaments here over this season. So he's probably got a higher tournament win percentage than anyone else, I think, in the area right now for winning these locals. So it's really, that's what's up. I think the game itself, like as far as mistakes that I made or anything, there's probably sometimes what I did with Marathi probably wasn't the best bet. It was a high risk, high reward, because after my first turn of shooting, I put a pretty good bit of damage on him, and when I won that double turn, he thought the game was over. He even told me later, yeah, I thought it was done after you got that double going into turn 2. But in turn 2, I really didn't do that much damage. I made my points for that turn, but I really didn't take enough off the board. I had to take that Phoenix off the board, and I didn't do it. The Mirror Dancing Marathi for the 9-inch charge, I mean, it was a calculated risk, because if I would have got her into that Phoenix, she would have probably finished off the Phoenix and the rest of those, the Phoenix Guard. So I would have been sitting on that point. That side of the board would have been cleared, and then the game would have been pretty much wide open for me to have, to start working wherever I wanted to work, which had been that big block of Phoenix Guard in the middle. However, didn't do any of that, didn't kill enough, didn't position myself. That was the other thing. Me putting Marathi over there, I put her in a position where I could be in that 9-inch charge, and I basically took her out of the game for 2 turns is what it pretty much amounted to. So that was probably my biggest risk reward error of the game. I also forgot I had a Mystic Shield up, and I didn't account for that in some of my rolling with at one point in the game, and that probably cost me a snake or 2 possibly. At the end, I'm still learning the army. I'm sort of getting better with it, how to function, how to use them. And those last 2 priority rolls, if I would have got one of them, maybe we would have even back up a little bit. But basically going into turn 3, I was out of position, and I hadn't killed enough at that point in time, so I paid the price for it. And that's what set me behind. And you can't make those mistakes when you're playing, somebody as good as Mr. Rattling, because he's gonna make you pay for that. But congratulations to him on his tournament win. I've got 1 win, 1 loss. I'm still cool. I'm going into game 3 right now.
Alright guys, we're playing Power in Numbers. We're all set up. I'm playing against Mr. Christopher Schilling. If you remember the channel, we had a good battle at Hammerfest. And if you play Suns, you should check out his lists because he generally does really well. One of the better Suns players around. So we're playing Power in Numbers. I out-dropped him. And I think I'm gonna let him go.
30 drops.
Alright, so I had Chris go first. He basically ran with Roche's advance since it was monsters. He got his extra point, threw a boulder, hit Marathi, did 3 wounds to her. So now we're going into my turn. Turn 1. Sort of pushed up, playing for the double turn. I took Roche's advance. The one thing I did, which was a little iffy, was I moved everybody up. Put a couple wounds out. I ended up putting 15 wounds on that gate breaker. I put about 8 in shooting on that unit, and then I said, well, the Ishling Guard can come up and...
You did 4 in shooting.
Oh, I did 4? Okay, so I didn't do much, and then now they're at 10, so didn't finish a guy off. They ended up swinging back, killing 1 in return, and plus the stomp that they did to take 2 wounds on it. So now we're going to a priority roll. Okay, 5 to 4, and I'm going to take that. So that worked out, yay! Alright, my turn went okay. I got my battle tactic, which was to bring it down on the gate crasher, gate breaker there. I managed to do it with actually Marathi shooting. She was in range to do that, and she got the extra point for doing it and killing the monster. I kind of withdrew over here. I finally burnt my point. My magic phase did nothing. I got a mystic shield out, which really didn't do anything. I came over here with the grand designs of maybe I could get that one down 25, you know, put 25 wounds on him. I did 15 wounds, right? And so nothing really there. He swung back, rolled really poorly, so I only killed 4 snakes. And I decided to burn that point because I think he's taking it next turn. And Marathi's got 6 wounds on her, so here we go. We are in going into turn 2 Suns.
And then I'll retrieve your if you want.
Total score is 8 to 3. Alright, Chris finished up his turn. Wasn't too bad for him, wasn't great. Marathi straight beat on this guy, and his tactical objective was to kill the my battle line. He did it here, so Marathi ended up not taking any wounds, and Finest Hour got him down to what, 3 wounds left? And I was kicking myself in the butt because right after at the end of the combat, I forgot I should have crystal touched the last turn. Maybe would have killed him already, but who knows? Ishland Guard got stuffed in bags. No, they didn't get stuffed in bags. They got
charged, impact wounds, and then this guy threw a witch elf at them.
Yeah, to finish him off. The thrown witch elf finished him off. So they, between the those guys and his general, they got in and just ate the witch elves. I redeployed the witch elves to make sure that none of my bow snakes were in combat. We're going for a turn 3 roll off, 3 to 4. So that he's going to take it, and that's going to be a probably going to be a GG pretty soon because he's going to get in there and kill all that. Maybe I can take that giant down, but we'll see. Alright, so Chris finished up his turn. He took to conquer this one. He moved his Mega Gargant out of combat and basically walked onto it. Marathi took no damage this turn. And if you see here, he was able to come in and wipe out the bow snakes. A little bit closer than I thought it was going to be actually, but put 1 wound there, and we ended up taking out that one Guardian with the 1 wound on it. Going into my turn 3, and there's no objectives on the board. They have all been burnt. The score right now is 14 to 8, so I don't think I can catch up from points. I have to basically table him, and we'll see where it goes. But the way the tournament's working today is we're sort of stacking as many points as we can, so the more points you get, the better your standing. So here we go. The turn was super quick. Basically pulled out of combat here, cast the Withering, cast Black Horror, and cast an Arcane Bolt. Got him down to 1 wound, and then Marathi finished him off with her Gaze. So I scored 3 for killing a battle line with a monster, and scored an additional 1 because it was a monster for this round. So I scored 4. That's where I'm at. Everybody's pulled off. I've only got my 3 leaders left on the board, and we're going to see what happens with a roll-off real quick. I got a 5 to a 6. Oh, okay. So we'll see what Chris's points are going to be. All right, Chris's turn was super quick. He went in, picked Slay the Warlord. I ran Lil Marathi out because I was trying to save some damage where I maybe get some battle tactics here as we go. And yeah, my Methuselah, my Iron Scale died, and we're going into my turn.
Just rolling like 1 star.
Another fast turn for me. I took Savage Spearhead, right? And to go into his territory, I had the range to run, but hey, we did it fancy and we did Mirror Dance and we just teleported over there and then did a couple wounds through spells and shooting to his guys. And now we're going to a roll-off for turn 5, right? Yeah. 2 to 6. He's going to take it, I'm sure. And it really doesn't matter. He's going to win the game anyway. It's just right now we're just trying to collect points and tactics for the actual tournament standings. So he's going to finish up his stuff, and when I finish up mine, actually I can't even do anything else after this, so we'll see. Right. So the end of the game, this is what it looks like. I pretty much won the roll-off, and we went to turn 5. I was just trying to get some points for killing a monster, and managed to mirror dance over, do some shooting, do some magic, and killed one of the mini megas, and then that's about it. The game's over. Chris won. I think the total score was what, 23, because you got my grand strategy. So 23 to 15. So we'll see where everything looks at the final standings. All right.
So I will tell you.
So fun last game against Chris. I always like playing Chris. He's super tactical. He thinks about things at a deep level. So you know when you play him, he's definitely thinking a turn ahead a lot of times. And it's always fun to play him because he's a good opponent. And I always love getting feedback from him after games because he'll tell you what he thought you did wrong or what you could have changed up. We talked about it afterwards, and the turn 3 priority roll was a big game changer because I might not have still have won, but at the same time, it probably would have made it a little bit closer. And, that's priority rolls in the game. Like I said, my whole point for this tournament was to come in and get a little bit better with this army, get 3 games against 3 competitive players and see, learn the army a little bit. The game itself, I think probably in retrospect, probably one of my bigger mistakes is, and then I had, a few little ones in this game. I don't know if I should have ran the Blood Sisters and Marathi into his mega that was the Gatebreaker over on the left without Mindrazor being on him. If Mindrazor, because it's 2 things I messed up over there. Is one, I knew Mindrazor wasn't there, but I thought maybe with the extra attack for Marathi being in there that we could knock 20-25 wounds off of that and it would be worth the trade. However, it didn't. We only did 15. Mindrazor would have been beautiful and helpful. And I made a huge error and personally, and I forgot the turn to crystal, so I didn't even roll for those mortal wounds on it, and that would have actually been the difference on his turn because later on he was down to 3 wounds. That mega would have been dead into that next turn. So, but that's hindsight. I got really lucky with his swing back. He should have wiped that Blood Sisters unit, and he rolled very, very poorly. I didn't really even roll that good. It was just he whiffed on the rolls, so they actually stayed alive a turn longer than they should have, honestly. Another thing we talked about is me with the eels. I sort of charged them in. Not a horrible idea. Didn't get the damage to take one of the man crushers down. But when we talked about it later, I jumped too far back in my screen. I should have left him way up to make him deal with that, and that would actually slowed him down another turn. Or we even talked about, hey, just fly him over, put him in the back corner, and give him something else to think about with his point, and having to defend it or sit back to burn it or something like that. So there was some small errors during the game, but like I said, I'm learning the army. It's fun. I think I ended up placing 7th, and I'll have the tournament results in the blog post. So no big deal. Just getting ready, getting painted. as far as things that I would like to change about the list, the one thing I would like to change, I'd already commented on, I would put the shields on the witch elves. I think that that's better. And I would like to try Hagnar with this list. I'm not saying that Keltnar with this list. I'm not saying that it's better than Hagnar. I probably will end up running Hagnar at the Dallas, but I have to give Keltnar a try. The free unit of Kinnerai and the retreat and charge and the battle command ability to reflect one's back as mortal wounds. There's just too many good things. You're just missing out, on that blood right table. You're missing out on the 5-up invul. So I'm going to try it out before it's time to submit list. I have to know which one's better for this setup and which one I like better. But all in all, I think Doc. I mean, if you look at the tournaments, they're strong. This is a strong list. I mean, I lost to the tournament winner. I lost to one of the better players in Houston. I won a game to the guy that ended up, placing high and winning his next 2 games. And a lot of it came down to a few rolls here and there for priority, possibly. But that's the game. So, hey guys, please, any feedback you have, leave it in the comments. Like I said, check out the link in the description to head to the blog post. There'll be lots of information for this tournament. There'll be lots of information for Doc that I'll have in there, courtesy of Matt Robish. And that's all I got. Thanks for watching, and y'all be good.